you went over and you've probably met over 100 investors, VC, angel mix.
Yeah.
Is 100 kind of a correct number?
I'd say in the 5 weeks, yeah.
One of the key things here is what Daragh's done really, really well is he went and listened to the potential consumer side, and then he's gone and listened to the investor side. And then you were okay to be told no. And that's when you came back to the table. You were like, okay, I want to run something by you.
It was a Sunday to a Wednesday. We spent up until really late that night. I went and pitched a VC the next day. And he was like, this could be one of the best uses of AI in our entire portfolio. We are proud to announce we're partnered with the local enterprise office, Galway City. One of the amazing grants they offer is called the Priming Grant. This is for manufacturing and internationally traded service businesses. This is a grant for up to 150,000 euros of general business expenditure.
This grant allows your business to, or your idea that has just recently taken off and you need guidance and you need more momentum and support around growing this business. This grant, the Priming Grant, allows you for the first 18 months of your business, just as you've gotten momentum or you're figuring things out, to get marketing costs, consultancy costs, go-to-market costs such as international expansion and salaries and recruitment to be covered under this grant for the maximum value of 150,000 euros.
Erik nor I have actually availed of this grant because we actually weren't aware of it. And when it came up as a suggested grant, we wish we had known about it, because one of the biggest lessons in business is that it takes usually twice as long and twice as much money as you think to get where you need to go to. So with the Priming Grant, it really allows you that breathing space to half your cost, you double your runway, which is everything in business, and get that bit further and figure it out. 100%.
And I think ultimately one of the most important parts of business is to get advisory mentorship in areas that you might have skill set deficiencies or you just don't have that experience. And, you know, from all the way from the local enterprise office, which, you know, Galway's who we're dealing with here, who've been extremely helpful, Caroline and the team. But just to mention, all the local enterprise offices have wealth of experiences, skill sets, and direction to give you and your business to get to the next level in the market.
We're delighted to be partnering with Caroline and the team here in Galway City. They've been really supportive to us behind the scenes, and then now partnering with us is absolutely fantastic. So let's get back into the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Build From Scratch podcast, episode 32, with yours truly, Erik and Daragh. Before we get started, we're sorry that we've been a little bit off the radar, but we've come back with it. This episode is going to be a quick, short update around what's gone on in the last few weeks, couple of months, you know, so we're going to get right into that. But before we get into all that, you're going to see that this episode is brought to you by by our local enterprise office in Galway City. So we want to shout them out and really thank them for their sponsorship and support. It means a lot to us. So throughout the next couple of weeks, we're going to try to also give you our experience with the local enterprise office and everything that they offer for businesses and individuals getting into business or already in business, looking to push, pivot, and increase their momentum and growth. So we're going to be covering all of that. Yeah, so my name is Erik. I'm 25 years old. I'm in the digital transformation space and in the edtech space for the last number of years. Started our venture Grafton Digital with Daragh in 2018, and a little bit over, has it been 15 months now, Daragh? I've done a management buyout a little bit over 15 months ago with Daragh, and we've split our journey, but however, we remain connected on a number of different cool things.
Yeah, my name's Daragh. I'm 24 years old. I'm the co-founder of Magnate. With Magnate, we're focused on transforming communications of business into information and company intelligence. Also co-owner of Sky Park with Erik, where we have with Sky Park Galway, the #1 car park in Galway.
Thank you for taking my line. That's always my tagline.
I know, yeah. You're just inspiration.
I've always been an inspiration.
And we've been self-employed since we were 17, 18 years old. So we've been in the game a little while.
Just a little while.
So,
just in case we look 40.
Yeah. So it's been a little while since we've been on the podcast.
It has been a little bit of time, and I suppose it's just loads of stuff has gone on. We've been unable to sit down and do this podcast, and then we just don't want to keep going back to the office where we try to do a little temporary setup and kind of get going. So I think we've got a couple of interesting stories to tell from New York to kind of get kicked into it. Daragh and I were in New York in August. You know, we were both on a journey of fundraising and networking and doing all that kind of cool stuff. I was there with Grafton Digital, my digital transformation company, and Dara's there with Magnate. And I think we've got a pretty interesting story to kind of now share. Because it's kind of, you know, September's gone now. Now you can kind of come out of the woodworks on it. But like it's, you've had a pretty interesting time, but it's a pretty common time to have in business.
Yeah.
So I think it's a real true lesson, and also like I can testify because I watched it. So why don't you get kick-started?
Yeah, so a very common thing in startups is pivoting. And again, I suppose the whole thing around a startup is that there's kind of signals and noise. And the whole thing around this is that when you're doing a startup and you tell someone your business idea, very commonly people go, that's such a great idea, great idea, great idea. And there's a thing called the mom test to try and ask specific questions to see whether you're actually solving. Because typically in a startup, if you're not solving a hair on fire problem, businesses and consumers won't listen to you because you're an untrusted brand. So at Magnate, where we started was leaving Grafton and seeing, like, we worked with hundreds of businesses with Grafton. I saw one of the big issues was that communication overload, and just this idea of people using 6-7 inboxes for communication, all these different meetings. You know, people spend on average about 60% of their time answering emails, internal communications, and in meetings in person or online, which is a huge time sink. And with Magnate, we went out to solve that. So version 1 of this looked like a inbox all in one place, prioritizing messages based on what's most important, and then gamify it. And there's a few players in the market like Superhuman and Fixer AI that kind of prove that, okay, these guys have built great businesses. Fixer was a startup, would now scale up. Superhuman's in the market a while. We were like, okay, definitely something here. When we actually, the signals we got were that I built a wait list quite quickly of lots of different businesses. And I was like, okay, right, pain points there, businesses signing up, that's amazing. Okay, let's just chase that down. But what happened was once we built it, what we realized is that it was probably too much of a jump for companies to move all their communications to all this unknown software. And it's a big change in habit. And the biggest thing to try and change, if someone spends half their week communicating, is to change exactly how they spend 20 hours of their week. So that was another big lesson of it. The other interesting part is that a lot of companies have gone down this route, really great teams, and there's a lot of graveyard full of businesses that have tried to centralize messaging. And a lot of them actually resorted to going to free models like beeper.com because they actually couldn't monetize it correctly. So showed the pain point was there, but the actual solution we built wasn't fully there. So then when we were in New York, we sat around in the office and we were like, okay, yeah, go on. You can say yours out.
Because like I did watch this from like a cinema perspective, right? And firstly, you went over, and you've probably met over 100 investors, VC, angel mix.
Yeah.
Is 100 a kind of a correct number?
I'd say in the 5 weeks. Yeah, I'd say about right.
About 100 over 5 weeks. So I think you went over at the end of July, and I met you around the 2nd or 3rd week of August. And one of the things to highlight here is obviously like. We're probably not saying that, okay, if 10 people said, you know, we're not sure, let us know how you get on, it means you're throwing out your idea. So take this with a pinch of salt. But you got to listen to these people that are either going to be using your product, using your business, or they're going to look to invest in your business. So one of the key things here is what Dara's done really, really well is he went and listened to the potential consumer side. And then he's gone and listened to the investor side, whether they're angels, whether they're VCs, with criteria, you know, or any other firms of investment relations. And one of the things that I think you've done just so perfectly is you went and listened, and you were okay to be told no. You were okay to be told, well, if you've got 2 or 3 other people come back to us and all this, right? And I remember even one of a Techstar investor slash business owners, sister. Also like emailed you, and you sent that into the group chat, and I was like, yay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you went and actually listened to people telling you no, come back later, let us know how you get on.
Yeah.
And that's when you came back to the table. I was there and you came back, and I remember I was just there working on my laptop. We were sharing an office in New York together. And you were like, okay, I want to run something by you. And you didn't say pivot or anything, but you kind of were like formulated really quickly in your head to validate again of like, okay, this is the feedback I've gotten on my consumer side.
Yeah.
This is where my product is at. However, this is where like the money people are telling me to look at or focus on, or this is where the point I've seen them either not interested or say no. And then you actually went and identified the missing parts of your pitch and the product and the proposition, and you brought it to the team within 24 to 48 hours of us trashing a little bit of a whiteboard.
Yeah. It was a Sunday to a Wednesday. Like
it was a Sunday to a Wednesday.
Yeah, we were in the office on Sunday, and then the Wednesday.
And I think we were out the night before as well. So I was like croaky.
Yeah.
Sitting there with a coffee, and Darragh's here like, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that, so I think I was probably about 85% listening to the user base and 15 listening to investors. But the interesting thing about the investor front, and I was talking to really like top tier in VC firms, like not even like some small firm that has no experience. And, but the main thing was that like I could get people signed up, I get people on the platform, and then I could see from the usage data they churn very quickly. And again, the thing in business is that you see a pain and you go, how do I build a solution to solve that? And one thing I actually learned about, this is actually out of an MBA, is there's levels of problems. There's like surface level problem, there's a tactical problem, and there's actually a strategic problem. And what we did was with Magnate V1 is we actually solved a surface level problem. Okay, people spend too much time in messaging. Okay, try and
join it
that
together, yeah.
But when you go to a strategic problem, it goes, as an entire company, what's foundationally incorrect that's actually going wrong, and how can you solve that? I suppose the question we got to is, how do you reduce the need for meetings and remove the need for questions to be asked in the first place? And the actual issue around that is people aren't updating the systems the company's paying for. So we go, okay, how do we reduce all the friction? How do we remove all the admin work from the team so they don't have to update these systems because they're not doing it? How do you make sure the data is really correct? And how do you make sure it's frictionless for it to be updated so management have the most up-to-date data? And this is the loop we went down as we kind of went further and further down the problem. And that's how we arrived at Magnate, because like the entire messaging meeting side is an absolute nightmare, but the average person gets disturbed about 275 times a day. Every 2 minutes, a person gets a ping, a Slack, a Teams, an email, which means you're every 2 minutes they're distracted. So it goes, okay, how could Magnate remove that someone could have 10 minutes, 20 minutes, less meetings? Even with AI note takers, the average meeting volume across the company drops by about 20%, which is huge. That's hours and hours and hours saved every week. So the thing we're trying to solve is, okay, how do we have this such a no-brainer? And I suppose we want to go one step further then, which is interesting. You'll understand this from the digital transformation space, and I've talked to a lot of other MSPs and consultants, is because when you're looking at a business, you need to look at distribution as well. And we would need to win trust really fast. So what we looked at was, how could Magnate fit in the toolkit of a company like Graft and a company like, there's other companies we're talking to as well, that we're a really good tool in your toolkit that's a really fast win. Because what I learned, one of the things I learned from Grafton is that when you're getting these long-term contracts, it's a long scope in time. It's a long process before you even get a yes if they're a customer of yours.
8 months, 12 months, 2 years.
Huge. And then once they say yes, they go, right, we said yes, what happens next? And you go, well, it's going to be 6 months before you see something, 9 months, 3 months, whatever. So we go, well, if we're going to be a tool in that toolkit for them, how can we be the easiest to implement and a very fast win for a company like Grafton? So a company goes, wow, okay, you said our first win would be 3 months in 2 weeks you've already brought us a software that's reduced communication, has saved us time, and actually means the output per person is higher. And our data is better as well.
It's accurate. It's like, it's only ever like that hour, the minute, whatever, like that's, and maybe we could share some clips of Magnate as well.
Yeah.
But like, that's like the connection. Like you have then like recharged, the theory that you wanted to go after all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then I remember we went in, and then you had Aaron there prototyping with Kevin, designing a little bit, and then you were there writing up your new pitch deck a little bit to change a lot of it. And then we had to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And then within a morning or and a half of two, or like a day or something, like there was like a new Magnate.
Yeah.
And then you were already pitching new Magnate before it was even finished on a pitch deck or on a product.
Yeah.
You then started meeting VCs, angels, and investors to be like, okay, you know, let's keep rolling. And what's that? I can even remember that scouting check you got of AA16. Is that what they're called?
It's not fully confirmed yet. So, but anyway, you can believe it. But yes, so we're looking at a scouting check from a very big VC firm.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, like, you know, they kept coming. And then all of a sudden you got more yeses and interest than no's, and you were able to like push and change a lot of that noise out of of companies just saying, okay, we're not sure yet.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, because if it's not a hell yes to a startup, it's really just a no. And you really need hell yeses to really go forward with something, really to hair on fire problem. So the good thing I had is because I built up a wait list, I went back to the wait list and I went, hey, would this solve it better? And a load of them just said, we love this so much more than the first thing. This is like when can we implement this? Like get this in ASAP. And I went, oh, brilliant. And then literally, this is quite funny. So on the Wednesday, we pivoted it. We spent up until really late that night then actually building a new website. We're prototyping product, whatever. We were fucking hustling. And I went and pitched a VC the next day. And I walked in. I was super nervous. I knew that I had very rough pitch together. I'd never pitched before. And this thing does take repetitions, even to flesh out the idea fully. And I went in, and to be fair to him, he played ball with me. He asked me lots of questions. He understood it because he's in the space. And he was like, this could be one of the best uses of AI in our entire portfolio. Like, we really love this. He's like, if you go away and build this, like, we'd be really interested in actually like leading you around. And I walked out and I went, oh my God, this is amazing. Okay. Again, you can't, like, again, and the one thing here, and just really want to reiterate, is that, like, the customer feedback is number one. Like, you don't want to just be dancing for investors, because if you're dancing for investors, like, they're not the ones talking to the customers. They don't understand the pain point. They have their own 2 cents. But again, you need to build for customers. But again, like, after talking to customers and then being like, hell yes, and then me walking into a VC and it being like, yeah, nice idea, but we've seen this not work out before. We're not too interested to. We think this is an amazing use case. Like, this could be transformative, because those guys are serial entrepreneurs as well. I was like, okay, if we're talking about noise and signals, I was like, these are good signals. These are really good signals. So I'm like, okay, let me keep going down this path. And then there's a family office that came in, that committed, everything else. And then I went, okay. And we started doing rollouts since. We turned out really fast. But the other interesting thing as well, I suppose, in today's landscape, and this could be an interesting takeaway for startup founders, is that with the age of vibe coding and being able to prompt and get a website like this and get a product like this, and again, get an MVP or version 1 up, having like a technical moat or like your unique thing, because you can't put any IP or trademarks on software. So all you've got is what you can build. And before, it used to take a full engineering team to try and build what you're trying to build, but now one person can do it in a couple hours and have a business rolling. So a really interesting thing from us is that Magnate V1 was actually quite difficult to build. It was a lot of moving parts, where this new thing now was a lot more lightweight. It was quicker to build. So I was talking to a business guy I kind of respect, and he said, Daragh, in your game now, I believe your defensibility, what you can be unique at, is your route to market. You need to lock down a distribution chain that you can control. That was a really good piece of advice to me. So I went and I really thought about it and I fleshed it out. And that's why I went to reseller MSP route. And I was thinking about Grafton days and reselling softwares. And that's why the first win quickly coming in, I was like, okay, maybe Magnate can fit in there. Because again, when you're a trusted consultant, you know, the main thing is that the company's trusted you to advise you. So how can we be in their toolkit that they want to recommend us? And how do we make that really desirable? So, and then we're also looking at going through a private equity firm. So when they're buying service businesses that we're implemented, and we're able to make a company much more efficient. But again, all this was very on the fly. Like, it was
48 hours.
Yeah, literally. And again, I started pitching it straight away. Again, it definitely was terrifying. Like,
speed of iteration.
Yeah.
Listen, and listen.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say that has the most amount of value when it comes to startup, is you got to listen to people, investors, or potential consumers. Defensibility of how, like we all have the best ideas in the world and we all think we've got the best businesses in the world, but how do you make sure your business is not a flash, in the pan here, and it has a real long, longevity with sustainable distribution model of getting new consumers, and it doesn't just rely on paid media, viral media, or any sort of, like just content as a distribution channel is not just like a solid channel. So what is my way, what is my defensibility here on growing my business, making sure that I do remain competitive. That's what we kind of covered as well. And, as a business around the Grow Digital voucher with the local enterprise office, it just allows you to, get into investing into sustainability and, the whole idea of defensibility as a business. So I think that is ultra important, because as a business, you're not going to double, triple, and 10x every year. Like, growing when you're at a 10 million euro scale, all of a sudden growing 2, 3 to 5% annually, and even keeping what you have is a really solid growth plan, right? So like every business and every idea and every startup should take this as a golden rule of, listening to what's going on, making sure that you do you're able to push or pivot your business or put a bullet in it to what you've said in a couple of episodes ago. I think that is ultra important for anybody doing a startup business, whether software service, these lessons and that exact, to be the founder that's able to make that decision as well, of all of a sudden changing the direction of the ship. Like, that is extremely tough, and not for the, not for anyone that's not able to handle the heat here in the kitchen. But, ultimately, like for someone to be able to make that decision, continue having that morale of, I'm going out there, continue fighting for it, getting the wins, bringing it back to the team, building the product now, like that is exactly how you do that phase one of your startup, and that is to really do your proof of concept model and coming to the market.
Yeah, I think the big learning out of that as well is that we actually hadn't raised capital up to this stage, and which has actually played in my favor, because once you take on capital, it's like full steam ahead, use it, go to market, like we don't care, work. And it's the real value, especially in today's world, where validation first, listen more than speak, really think about what you're doing, have a plan but still be willing to listen, and really validate it before you take on capital and before you go full steam ahead and you hire 5 engineers to do the roadmap. Like with the initial version, we'd built out a 24-month roadmap, we'd done all this, and now obviously our roadmap has changed, but it just means that now, okay, we're back in the lab, we're back in companies, much easier than it was the first time, and we're adding value and learning and improving the system. So now then when we take on capital in a bigger way, we know it's been validated strong, we know there's good stick, and this is where having like, what does success look like when you're doing trials of a company? Like what does success look like? Like, okay, one thing to get in the door, difficult, but you can do it. Then are they still using it? How many daily? Is it daily active usage? Is it weekly active usage? Is it X amount of metrics, whatever that is? I'm really ensuring you know that, because then when you're going to investors and you go, okay, here's my traction, here's my metrics, here's what this is success, and they look at it and go, this is de-risked. I'll finish on this point, is the founder of A16Z is Mark Andreessen. I saw him on a podcast recently. He won probably the biggest VC firm on the planet, and he was saying, he looks at like startup risk like an onion. So when you first start as a startup, it's all the risk. Every layer is just more and more risk. And what you're trying to do as a startup is you're trying to just peel the skin off. Just trying to take one layer of risk off. So when the investor looks at it, they go, okay, I can see you can tell the investor, here's all the risk, here's the layers I think I've taken off, and here's the more layers I want to take off of this funding. And you just keep doing that from pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, and it's constantly just trying to just take the layers off. So when you're looking at your startup, you go, when you're looking for investment, you go, what have you de-risked for the investor that they know their money is safe? At the end of the day, they just need to return a profit. So anyways, that was just an interesting one I heard, and just a very simple way to look at funding, going, what have you de-risked for the investor? Yeah, start peeling your onions, start de-risking your business, and don't be fooled by initial positive feedback. This is not like a quick win. Like I want everyone to make sure that when they're doing a proposition, a startup pitch or anything, like,
no one's business is perfect, and it will never be perfect, right? Even the day you sell, it'll never be perfect. So you got to take that in mind. It's a constant game of improvement, iterations, and making sure you continue the journey. I think that's all we were able to fit in today, just a little bit of an update, and we're going to try to come back for these weekly podcasts back in the studio as much as we can. I know you're going to the New York event. What's it called?
I'm going to Digital Irish
in
Irish
New
Tech
York.
Week, and then I'm going to TechCrunch just up in San Francisco. So if anyone's at either of those events, I'm more than happy to have the chats as well.
And so we're going to keep in touch. Try to get back on
we might hit an online one or two as well. Just keep the momentum going.
I don't like these online podcasts, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Because I like to sit down in person, the quality that come after. I don't know, we tried once when I was in Miami and it was terrible. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and you listen to us on Spotify. We're everywhere, Apple, Apple, what's it called, Music, or Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. So make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. See you next week.
Bye.